Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really significant one, George Orwell's 1984.
hmm
Its language, its ideas, they just keep popping up, don't they? Things like alternative facts, disinformation. It feels incredibly relevant.
It really does. And, people often call it a warning, but I see it more as this um, chillingly detailed
That
blueprint,
blueprint.
yeah, for how totalitarian systems control not just actions, but crucially thoughts and memories.
Mhm.
It's like a diagnostic tool we can still use today for political trends, even technological ones.
Okay. So our mission today is to sort of unpack those mechanisms, figure out why it still hits so hard.
Exactly, why it resonates.
All right, let's dive right into the world itself. Airstrip 1, Grim Place, used to be London, now part of Oceania.
Right, and this world is constantly at war. Perpetual war, really, with Eurasia, Eustasia.
Yeah.
It swaps around.
But the really fascinating part, and kind of disturbing, is that this war isn't really about winning against them, is it? It serves an internal purpose.
That's the core of it. The war is basically designed, engineered, to eat up any surplus production.
To keep people wanting.
Exactly. To maintain chronic scarcity, keep people afraid. It creates, as Orwell puts it, that special mental atmosphere a rigid society needs. It justifies the party's total power.
And focuses all the hate outwards.
Precisely. It's like the ultimate protection racket, really. The party creates the danger, then protects you from it.
Wow. And this control, it extends right into the government structure with those paradoxical ministries.
Oh, absolutely. Ministry of Truth. Minitru falsifies history.
Ministry of Peace wages war.
Ministry of Love tortures people.
And Ministry of Plenty oversees scarcity. It's pure doublethink right there in the names.
It absolutely is. And it
That's
perfectly
big.
reflects the party's main slogans. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. It's baked into the system.
And the system itself, it's rigidly layered, isn't it?
Very much so. You've got the inner party at the top living in, well, relative luxury.
Yeah.
Then the outer party, Winston's group.
Under constant watch.
Intense surveillance, yeah. And below them, the proles. They're kind of strategically ignored.
Kept happy with. Proli feed.
Yeah, basically mindless entertainment, lottery, cheap gin, enough to keep them docile. The party isn't really afraid of them rising up,
Who are they afraid of then?
their own kind. The outer party members like Winston, intellectuals, functionaries who might actually see the cracks in the system. That's where the real danger lies for the party.
Okay, so we see the big picture control, but what about the individual? How does someone like Winston experience this day to day?
Well, it's not just about physical force, though there's plenty of that.
Mhm.
It's this constant systematic assault on truth itself, on memory.
Winston's job is a perfect example.
Right, and Minitru. He literally rewrites historical records, creates unpersons, people who just vanish from history. Any inconvenient fact goes down the memory hole.
Destroyed forever. It ties into that key slogan, doesn't it?
Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past.
Yeah.
Objective reality just ceases to exist if the party says it does.
And then there's the language. Newspeak. That's maybe the most insidious part for me.
It's incredibly insidious. The whole point is to narrow the range of thought.
Make thought crime thinking against the party literally impossible.
Exactly. If you don't have the words for a rebellion or freedom or individuality, how can you even form the concept? It's about shrinking the mental world.
And that works alongside doublethink, holding two completely opposite ideas at once and just accepting both.
Yes, believing black is white if the party demands it. And alongside that, crime stop.
Which is like stopping a bad thought before it even starts.
Like an instinct, shutting down any potentially dangerous line of thinking automatically. It's mental self-policing.
So you've got reality, memory, language, all under attack.
That's the three-pronged assault. It's designed to make rebellion not just difficult, but fundamentally unthinkable. It's total mental capture.
Which brings us, tragically, to Winston Smith himself, our sort of everyman figure.
Right. He starts with that small act of rebellion, the diary. He searches for truth, has the affair with Julia. He feels this flicker of hope,
Think he finds a fellow rebel in O'Brien, the inner party member.
which turns out to be a devastating trap. His whole journey leads him to the Ministry of Love, Minilove.
And O'Brien.
And O'Brien reveals the party's raw, terrifying philosophy. It's not about some greater good, it's just power entirely for its own sake. Pure power.
The torture, Room 101. It's not just about pain, is it?
No, it's about breaking the spirit.
Yeah.
Room 101 confronts Winston with his absolute worst fear, rats. And to save himself, he betrays Julia. Utterly.
That's the moment they win.
That's the final victory. Not killing him, but obliterating his inner self, making him accept, even love, the very thing he hated. That final line.
He loved Big Brother.
Chilling.
Utterly chilling, the complete destruction of the individual.
So reflecting on this whole deep dive, what's the big takeaway for you? It definitely feels like more than just an old book. Oh, absolutely. It's a living document, like you said earlier. It's concepts, newspeak, doublethink, memory holes. They've given us a language, a kind of toolbox, really.
To analyze manipulation today.
Exactly. To dissect how information and truth itself can be controlled. It's a powerful defense of objective reality, of facts.
Which leaves us with a pretty pointed question.
It does. For you, listening, in this age where information comes at us constantly, where truth can feel slippery, where do you draw that line? Where do you insist, no matter what, that 2 + 2 = 4?
Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into George Orwell's 1984. We're going to deconstruct the chillingly perfect system of control in that world, a system designed not just to crush your body, but to completely rewire your mind. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll step into Oceania itself. Then we'll look at the architecture of oppression, the government. After that, we follow a rebel's doomed journey. We'll also get into the party's mental toolkit. And finally, we'll talk about the Orwellian legacy and why it still matters so much. Okay, first up, welcome to Oceania. Let's really set the scene and get a feel for this suffocating world where literally every single aspect of life is engineered for total control. You know, this is the first thing you see when you enter this world, and it's probably the last thing you'll ever forget. And make no mistake, this isn't just a warning or a threat. It's a simple statement of fact. In Oceania, telescreens are everywhere, watching your every move, listening to your every word. Privacy? Yeah, that idea is completely extinct. So how is this society structured? Well, it's a super rigid pyramid. Right at the very top, you've got the inner party. That's the elite, just a tiny 2% who get all the perks. Then there's the outer party, about 13%. These are the bureaucrats, the administrators, and this is where our main character, Winston, fits in. They live in pretty miserable conditions and are watched constantly. And then at the very bottom, you have the proles. They make up a whopping 85% of the population, and the party just keeps them distracted and powerless with cheap entertainment. They literally call it prole feed. And the crazy part? The whole world order is a giant lie. You're told there are 3 superstates locked in this endless war, right? But the war, it's a total sham. It's not about winning. Its real purpose is all about control, at home. It's a way to burn through resources so everyone stays poor and scared. It justifies the party having absolute power. So yeah, this war isn't meant to be won. It's just meant to continue. Forever. All right, next section. So, how is all this control actually managed? Well, let's look at the architecture of oppression, specifically the 4 ministries that run everything. And this is where you really see the twisted genius of it all, and it perfectly sets up this idea of doublethink. So you have the Ministry of Truth, which does nothing but create propaganda and lies. The Ministry of Peace, its job is to wage perpetual war. The Ministry of Love is where you go for torture and brainwashing. And the Ministry of Plenty, it makes sure everyone is on the brink of starvation. See the pattern? Each name is the exact opposite of what it actually does. And here's the kicker. It's not just irony. It's a horrifically efficient closed-loop system. Think about it. The Ministry of Truth pumps out propaganda to explain away the shortages created by the Ministry of Plenty. Those shortages then justify the endless war run by the Ministry of Peace. And if anyone dares to question any of this, well, that's what the Ministry of Love is for. It's a perfect, self-sustaining machine built on pure power. Okay, so we've seen the big picture. Now let's zoom in and see how this machine grinds down one single person. This is the rebel's doomed journey. A case study in control through the eyes of Winston Smith. So Winston's rebellion, it happens in stages. It starts small, with a thought crime. He secretly buys a diary and writes, "Down with Big Brother." Then it becomes a real, physical rebellion when he has an illicit love affair with Julia. But here's the thing he doesn't realize. Every step he takes is leading him right where the party wants him, straight into the Ministry of Love. He thinks he's fighting back, but really, he's just walking deeper and deeper into a trap that was set for him all along. And what's really interesting is that even his partner in crime, Julia, isn't on the same page. Winston's rebellion is ideological, it's abstract. He's desperate to understand why the party does what it does. Julia, she's what the book calls a rebel from the waist downwards. She doesn't care about the why. She just wants to enjoy herself and break the rules for personal pleasure. And that difference between them, that's a huge vulnerability, and it's exactly what the party uses to spring its trap on Winston. And then, inside the Ministry of Love, it all comes out. Winston's torturer, O'Brien, just lays it all bare. He tells him the party doesn't want power for some greater good or for wealth or anything like that. The party wants power simply for the sake of having power. Power isn't the means to an end. Power is the end. The object of oppression is oppression. It's just one of the most terrifyingly simple and honest motives for pure evil you'll ever read. So how do they actually pull this off? How do they achieve total mental domination? Let's break down the party's mental toolkit, the 3 core weapons they use to control not just what you do, but what you're even capable of thinking. First up, you've got Newspeak. This is absolutely brilliant and terrifying. The party is literally re-engineering the English language, just gutting it of words. They're getting rid of concepts like freedom or honor or justice. Why? Because their ultimate goal is to make rebellion literally unthinkable. Because soon, there won't be any words left to even form the thought. Next on the list is doublethink. This is the mental gymnastics you have to perform to survive. It's the ability to hold 2 completely contradictory ideas in your head at the same time and believe both of them. It's knowing deep down that the party is lying to you, while also believing that lie with every fiber of your being. It's how war is peace and freedom is slavery can make perfect sense. It's basically weaponized insanity. And the final piece of the puzzle, thought crime. This is the big one. In Oceania, you don't actually have to do anything wrong. Just thinking a rebellious thought is the most serious crime you can commit. The thought is the crime. It's a system designed to crush dissent before it even has a chance to become an action. It turns every single citizen into their own thought police.
Okay, so this all sounds like some grim, far-off dystopia, right? But the real question is, why does a book that's over 75 years old still feel so urgent, so relevant? Let's talk about the Orwellian legacy.
I think the answer is pretty simple. Orwell didn't just give us a story, he gave us a vocabulary. Think about all these words that have seeped into our everyday language. Big Brother, Newspeak, doublethink, thought crime. They've become these essential tools that we all use to call out abuses of power and the manipulation of truth whenever we see it in our own world.
And this isn't just some abstract academic thing. I mean, back in January 2017, sales of this book just skyrocketed. Why? Because a government official used the phrase alternative facts. People heard that and immediately recognized it for what it was, a perfect, real-world example of Newspeak. It was happening right in front of them, and everyone reached for Orwell to make sense of it.
And that's really the key takeaway here. The real power of 1984 isn't that it was some kind of prophecy. It's that it's a timeless toolbox. Orwell gave us the intellectual tools to dissect propaganda, to spot doublethink from a mile away, and to see exactly how language can be used as a weapon. It's like a permanent defense kit for objective reality. Which leaves us with the book's central, nagging question. A question that feels maybe even more urgent today than it did back in 1949. For Winston Smith, freedom was something very simple. The freedom to say that 2 + 2 makes 4. So in our own age of alternative facts and constant information warfare, how do we defend that same simple fundamental liberty?
Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into a book that, well, for me, it just seems to get more monumental every year. George Orwell's 1984.
Published way back in 49.
Yeah, and it's not just some classic novel, is it? It feels more like a chillingly detailed blueprint for a totalitarian society.
Absolutely, one that goes beyond just controlling actions and words.
It gets right into your thoughts, your memories. It's become this, like, foundational analysis of power and control that feels scarily relevant. So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the most important, maybe surprising nuggets from the analysis we've looked at. Give you a shortcut to understanding the world of the novel, its control mechanisms, the character's psychology.
And those contemporary echoes you mentioned.
Exactly. We'll unpack how it dissects the manipulation of history, language, the the weaponization of psychology and that whole strategy of perpetual war.
And that's spot on. It's why it's so crucial, I think. Orwell didn't just give us a warning. He basically handed us a reality diagnostic kit.
Huh, I like that. A diagnostic kit.
Yeah, 1984 is still this vital tool for, analyzing political trends, technological trends, even now. We'll use Winston Smith's journey, his doomed journey, really, as our way into understanding how these control systems actually work on a human level.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with the setting then. Paint a picture of Oceania, this meticulously built dystopia.
Right.
So the story unfolds in Airstrip 1. That's what used to be London.
Yeah, quite a name change.
Tells you a lot, doesn't it? Just one part of this world with 3 huge totalitarian superstates. Oceania, Eurasia, Eastasia, and they're always at war.
Perpetually.
Oceania's ideology is Ingsoc. That's newspeak for English socialism. And the leader, well, the figurehead at least, is Big Brother, quasi-mythical guy.
His face is everywhere.
Everywhere. Big Brother's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
That slogan. And the name Airstrip 1 itself, it just strips away all that history, doesn't it? Reduces Britain to just a military base.
It's a deliberate erasure, right from the start, erasing the past in the geography itself.
So, about that perpetual war, you said it's ingenious and terrifying. What's the thinking there? It's not just failed foreign policy.
Oh, not at all. That's the terrifying genius of it. It's core domestic policy. The analysis points out this unwinnable war is specifically designed to eat up surplus products without ever letting living standards actually rise for the people. It's a cruel but brilliant engine for control.
Keeps people poor and focused on the enemy.
Exactly. And this constant state of war, it's explained in that forbidden book, The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism. It preserves the special mental atmosphere that a hierarchical society needs.
Meaning fear and hatred.
Fear, hatred, patriotism, yeah. The goal isn't beating Eurasia or Eastasia, it's just keeping the conflict going. That justifies the party's absolute power, channels public anger outwards, creates this permanent siege mentality.
So everyone feels they need the party for protection.
Precisely. It's the ultimate protection racket. The state manufactures the threat it claims to protect you from.
Wow. That is chilling. And the physical world reflects that bleakness, right? Yeah. Airstrip 1.
Oh, absolutely. Winston lives in these grim, rundown places called Victory Mansions.
Victory Mansions, the irony.
It's everywhere. Victory gin, Victory cigarettes. Everything's a lie, even the branding.
So who lives in this world? How does the party sort people?
Right. That leads us to the social hierarchy. It's pretty rigid, based on strategic neglect for some and intense scrutiny for others. 3 main classes.
Okay.
You've got the inner party, the outer party, and the proles. And interestingly, membership isn't strictly hereditary. There's this exam at age 16.
An exam, really?
Yeah, though you suspect it's more about ideological suitability, right? A facade. The inner party, they're the top tier. Tiny fraction, maybe 2%.
The elite.
The real rulers, policymakers. They live in relative luxury, and crucially, they have the unique privilege of being able to turn off their telescreens, at least for short periods.
Ah, so they aren't watched constantly. That's a big deal.
Huge distinction. They run this system. They're not just trapped inside its tightest grip.
Right.
Then you get the outer party, about 13%.
Winston's group.
Exactly. The administrators, the clerks, they live pretty miserably in squalor often, and they're under the most intense invasive surveillance. They're the ones the party watches like hawks.
Okay. And the rest?
The proles. The vast majority, 85%. The working class, largely uneducated. And here's the thing. They're mostly left alone by the thought police.
Really? Why?
Controlled by other means. Prolifeed, the party calls it. Cheap entertainment, fake news, porn, sports, lotteries. Basically bread and circuses designed to keep them distracted, politically unaware.
So you mentioned the party's real fear isn't a prole uprising, but the outer party. Why is that intellectual rebellion seen as so much more dangerous?
Well, yeah, this setup reveals a key insight the party has. They're not really worried about the proles rising up. Like the slogan says, proles and animals are free.
They see them as harmless.
Pretty much. Intellectually inferior, easily satisfied with trivial stuff.
Okay.
No, the real perceived threat is an intellectual rebellion from the educated outer party. People like Winston.
People who can think critically.
Exactly, who can connect ideas, maybe organize properly. So when Winston thinks, if there is hope, it lies in the proles, that's shown to be a kind of romantic delusion. The party's intense focus on policing the outer party tells you where they actually see the danger to their power.
It's a very cold, pragmatic view of who poses a threat.
Brutally pragmatic.
And that brings us to the government itself, the four ministries. These names are just dripping with, well, what the party calls doublethink.
Peak doublethink, yeah.
You've got the Ministry of Truth, Minute True, responsible for lies, basically.
Okay.
Propaganda, rewriting history.
Mm-hmm.
Ministry of Peace, mini-PACs, wages war.
Constantly.
Ministry of Love, Minga Love, internal security, torture, re-education. And that chilling description, the place where there is no darkness.
Gives you shivers.
And finally, Ministry of Plenty, Minute Plenty, overseeing scarcity, rationing.
Yeah. What's really striking is how these ministries directly embody those party slogans. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength.
They're not just ironic names, then.
No, they're part of an integrated system. It's cyclical. Minute True pumps out propaganda justifying the scarcity engineered by Mini-Plenty. That scarcity helps fuel the perpetual war run by mini-PACs. The war justifies the party's total power. And if anyone questions it,
Mini-Leave steps in.
Mini-Leave steps in. Torture, re-education, until you accept the reality Minute True is currently selling. It's a closed loop. Total domination, each part reinforcing the others.
A terrifyingly complete system. So how does someone like Winston even start to push back in a world like that? Let's follow his path, maybe not just as a plot summary, but as a kind of case study in how the party manages rebellion.
That's a great way to look at it, because his rebellion, right from the start, it's being watched, maybe even facilitated.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. His first big act of thought crime, buying that diary, writing down with Big Brother, the beautiful paperweight he buys, that symbol of the past.
Yeah, he gets them from Mr. Charrington's shop. And who does Charrington turn out to be?
Oh, right. A thought police agent.
Exactly. And O'Brien, the inner party member Winston, pins all his hopes on, thinking he's part of the Brotherhood.
He's the one who tortures him in the end.
He's his chief tormentor. So Winston isn't finding freedom. He's basically walking into a carefully set trap. Every step seems anticipated. The party isn't just reacting to dissent. They're almost cultivating it to find potential threats.
So even his private acts of defiance are sort of illusions. Orchestrated.
It certainly seems that way. Managed.
Yeah.
Later, Julia passes him that note, "I love you." That sparks their affair, which is a huge personal rebellion, right? Against the party wanting all love directed at Big Brother.
A very human rebellion.
Very human, but fundamentally different from Winston's. His is ideological, abstract. He wants to know why. Julia's is much more personal, physical, almost apolitical. She hates the party, sure, but she breaks the rules for her own pleasure, her own satisfaction.
And their sanctuary, the room above Charrington's shop. A fragile pocket of the past, but like you said, also part of the trap.
How does the trap finally spring?
Well, O'Brien approaches them, seems to confirm all Winston's hopes, says he's with the Brotherhood, gives him the book.
Goldstein's book, the ultimate forbidden text.
The theory and practice of oligarchical collectivism. This is the final piece. It draws Winston right in. Then comes the arrest, right there, in their sanctuary.
The picture falls off the wall.
Reveals a hidden telescreen. And in walks Charrington, no longer the frail old shopkeeper, but a cold, sharp thought police agent. They totally played on the differences between Winston and Julia, especially Winston's, intellectual vanity, his desperate need for confirmation.
His desire to belong to a rebellion was used against him.
Nailed it. That desire was the hook.
Which leads him to the Ministry of Love.
Yeah.
Inner love. Describe that experience. It's brutal.
It's harrowing. Constant bright lights, no darkness, witnessing others break down completely, like his neighbor Parsons, proudly turned in by his own young daughter for thought crime.
Unbelievable.
And O'Brien is there. Not as an ally, but as the interrogator, the torturer. He even explains the torture is pedagogical.
Pedagogical, like teaching.
Yeah, like he's teaching Winston, curing him of his insanity, which is basically believing in an objective reality outside the party. And O'Brien lays out that terrifying philosophy. The party wants power just for power's sake.
The object of torture is torture. The object of power is power.
Exactly. No higher purpose, no eventual utopia, just pure naked power forever.
And it all comes down to Room 101.
Room 101, where you confront the worst thing in the world, your deepest fear. For Winston, it's rats. They bring in a cage, ready to strap it to his face, and that's when he breaks completely. He screams.
Do it to Julia.
Do it to Julia. Do it to somebody else. Not me, Julia. He betrays the one person he truly loved. That destroys his last shred of integrity, his private loyalty.
So what happens after that?
He's released. Eventually. But he's hollowed out. Emotionally dead. He meets Julia again, but there's nothing there between them anymore. He just sits in the Chestnut Tree Cafe, drinking Victory Gin. A military victory is announced on the telescreen, and he feels this blissful peace. He looks up at the poster of Big Brother, and the final sentence, he loved Big Brother.
Chilling, just absolutely chilling.
It is, because the party's ultimate win isn't just killing enemies, it's converting them, making them genuinely love the system that destroyed them, erasing the very idea of opposition. That's a far greater victory than creating martyrs. O'Brien's conviction, his apparent sincerity in saving Winston, that makes him truly terrifying.
It's total annihilation of the self. Okay, let's dig into the toolbox then. How does the party maintain this level of control beyond the physical torture? How do they get inside people's heads?
Well, it starts with just relentless psychological warfare and propaganda, that constant noise from the telescreens, the daily 2 minutes hate.
Right, focusing all that anger onto Goldstein.
Yeah, it channels everyone's rage, frustration, fear onto this one scapegoat, unifies them in hatred. Then there's the whole cult of personality around Big Brother. It redirects loyalty away from, say, family towards the state.
The public executions as warnings.
Stark warnings, yeah. That's the more overt stuff.
But what about manipulating reality itself? How do they mess with truth?
Okay, that's where it gets really sophisticated. The manipulation of history. That's the Ministry of Truth's main job, right? Historical revisionism.
Winston's job.
Exactly. Changing records constantly. So one day you're at war with Eurasia, the next it's Eastasia. And all the records are changed within days, sometimes hours, to show Oceania was always at war with Eastasia.
So seamless.
Seamless. And people who fall out of favor, they become unpersons.
Erased.
Completely erased. Wiped from all records, photos, everything, down the memory hole. It all comes back to that core party slogan. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past.
So there's no fixed point of reference, no objective truth to appeal to.
None. The party is the truth. History becomes whatever the party needs it to be right now. It makes them infallible. How can you argue with them if the evidence keeps changing to match what they say?
It's dizzying. And we touched on perpetual war. It's not just about defense, it's internal control, too.
Absolutely critical. Economically, like we said, it burns surplus, justifies scarcity, keeps people poor, tired, too busy surviving to think critically.
Right.
Psychologically, it keeps fear and hatred simmering. Patriotism cranked up to 11, makes the party's harsh rule seem necessary for survival. And globally, it locks the superstates in place. None can actually win, so the war and the power structures it supports just goes on forever.
A perfect self-sustaining loop of control.
But maybe the most ambitious, the most chilling project the party undertakes is the destruction of language and thought itself.
How can you destroy thought? That sounds almost science fiction even now.
Well, Orwell lays out how they try. It's done through several interconnected tools. The most famous is Newspeak.
The official language.
Right. Engineered specifically to narrow the range of thought. They shrink the vocabulary, simplify the grammar. The ultimate goal, to make thought crime literally impossible. If you don't have the words for concepts like freedom, rebellion, individuality, can you even think those thoughts?
Wow. That gets under your skin. Limiting the tools you use to think.
Exactly. And linked to that is doublethink.
Holding two contradictory ideas at once.
And believing both. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Accepting contradictions as reality. It's a core mental discipline the party demands.
And if you slip up, if you have a forbidden thought.
That's thought crime. Even an unspoken flicker of dissent, which is monitored by the thought police. Thought crime is death, O'Brien says. Not just leads to death, it is death.
Because the intention is enough.
The intention is everything, and if you commit it persistently, you become an unperson, executed, erased. And finally, there's Crime Stop. It's like a mental reflex. Protective stupidity, Orwell calls it. Instinctively stopping yourself before you form a dangerous thought, you become your own censor.
So you shut down dangerous lines of thinking automatically.
Yeah. Altogether, it's the systematic attack on reality. On memory, logic, language itself. The goal is to make humans incapable of rebellion by taking away the very mental tools they'd need for it.
It's a terrifyingly complete vision of control. Okay, let's shift a bit. Think about the legacy of 1984. It's clearly more than just a novel now.
Oh, absolutely. It's become a cornerstone of political thought, hasn't it? It's like the definitive literary model of totalitarianism.
A warning against authoritarianism, left or right.
Exactly. It reflects Orwell's experiences and disgust with both Nazi Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union. It shows how these regimes don't just want obedience, they want to conquer reality itself. Erase your identity, make you an extension of the party.
And one aspect that feels incredibly current is the surveillance, the panopticon state.
Right. Orwell was so prescient there. Those two-way telescreens, always watching and listening, hidden microphones. Even kids encouraged to spy on their parents, the spies organization.
Terrifying.
And the psychological effect is profound. Orwell writes, you had to live in the assumption that every sound you made was overheard, and except in darkness, every movement scrutinized.
So you start policing yourself.
Exactly. That's Jeremy Bentham's panopticon idea. The possibility of being watched makes you behave as if you are being watched all the time, which, feels incredibly relevant in our digital age.
With mass data collection, social media monitoring, facial recognition.
Yeah.
It's hard not to see parallels.
The technology is different, but the principle.
It resonates.
Yeah.
And it helps to remember where this warning came from historically.
Definitely. He wrote it just after World War II, 1947-48, start of the Cold War.
And his influences seem pretty clear.
Oh, yeah. Stalinist Russia looms large. The purges, the show trials, on persons like Trotsky, the cult of personality around Stalin. Nazi Germany, too, the propaganda machine, youth indoctrination.
He saw similar things in the Spanish Civil War, too, didn't he? The manipulation of language and history during conflict.
Absolutely. And even his own work for the BBC during the war, essentially working in a ministry of truth, gave him insights into how information could be controlled and disseminated by the state.
So it wasn't pure fantasy. It was taking the worst political trends he saw around him.
And projecting them forward to their most terrifying logical conclusion.
Which brings us right up to today. The Orwellian legacy.
It's huge. I mean, think about the words that have entered our language directly from the book.
Orwellian itself. Big Brother.
Newspeak, thought crime, doublethink, memory hole. They're part of our everyday political vocabulary now.
And the book seems to surge in popularity whenever there's political unease.
It really does. People reach for it to make sense of things. Remember the whole alternative facts moment back in 2017?
Yeah, sales spiked then, didn't they?
Hugely. It was like a real-world example of Newspeak or doublethink suddenly unfolding. And its relevance today with discussions around, fake news, state-sponsored disinformation, the general erosion of objective truth. It's undeniable.
So it remains a vital tool.
Absolutely. Orwell himself said it was a warning, a satire, not necessarily a prophecy. But its real legacy, I think, is as that toolbox you mentioned earlier. It helps us dissect and understand new forms of manipulation as they emerge. It gives us the language.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, 1984 really stands as this profound anatomy of totalitarianism. It shows how the ultimate control isn't just physical, it's psychological. It targets memory, language, perception itself.
Oceania isn't just a brutal dictatorship. It's a fully realized system designed purely for power. Power as an end in itself.
And its timelessness is kind of tragic, isn't it?
It really is. Those themes, surveillance, propaganda, rewriting history, crushing individuality, they just keep echoing in our own, supposedly very different information age.
It seems its power is in giving us that vocabulary, that framework, to identify these things when we see them.
Exactly. It's not just a historical novel. It's like a diagnostic manual that's still alarmingly relevant. It helps us see the patterns.
Which I think is why diving into it like this is so important. Because if there's one core takeaway from the book, maybe it's this. The defense against that kind of power, against Big Brother, starts small.
Yeah. Where?
It starts with defending objective truth, with stubbornly insisting, as Winston tries to, that 2 + 2 makes 4, regardless of what the party says.
Ah, right. Holding on to that basic reality.
Yeah. That seems to be the fundamental act of resistance the book points to, defending the idea that facts exist independently of power. And maybe that's the thought to leave everyone with. How crucial that seemingly simple act is, even today.
George Orwell's 1984, it's so much more than just a novel. It's a terrifyingly detailed blueprint for a totalitarian state. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and deconstruct the mechanics of control in Orwell's world to really get why, all these years later, it's still one of the most important tools we have for understanding how power works.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're breaking it down into 5 parts. We'll start by setting the scene in Oceania. Then we'll look at the government's twisted structure, follow one man's rebellion, unpack the psychological weapons the party uses, and then we'll talk about why this all still hits so close to home.
All right, first things first, let's get our bearings. This isn't just a grim setting. It's a world where every single detail has been engineered for one thing and one thing only: total control.
We've all seen this phrase, right? Well, in Oceania, it's not just a poster. It's the literal operating system. The world is split into 3 massive superstates: Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia, that are always at war with each other. And this slogan? It's the constant, nagging reminder that you are never, ever alone.
But here's the genius and absolutely terrifying part. The war isn't about beating the enemy. It's not supposed to be won. Its real purpose is to keep the people at home scared, poor, and on a permanent war footing. It eats up any extra resources, so everyone is always just getting by. That scarcity and fear, that's what keeps the whole power structure from collapsing.
So who actually lives here? Well, the society is a very rigid pyramid. At the very top, you've got the inner party, a tiny 2%. They're the brains. Then there's the outer party, about 13%. Think of them as the hands. That's where our hero Winston is. And then there's everyone else, a massive 85% called the proles. And the party's strategy for them? Basically keep them entertained and ignore them. This tells you exactly who the party is afraid of. It's not the masses, it's the educated, ambitious people right below them.
Okay, so how do they actually maintain this iron grip? Well, the government itself is this masterclass in psychological warfare. It's all built around 4 ministries, and their names are where the logic gets really twisted. I mean, just look at this. This is the whole idea of doublethink in action. Every single ministry does the exact opposite of what its name says. The Ministry of Truth pumps out propaganda and lies. The Ministry of Peace runs the endless war. The Ministry of Plenty makes sure everyone is on the brink of starvation. And the scariest one of all, the Ministry of Love, that's the headquarters for torture and brainwashing. It's a perfect closed loop of control.
And this is what they hammer into people's heads day in and day out. These aren't just empty slogans. They are the core beliefs, the mental software that allows the whole impossible system to actually function.
So we've got the big picture. Now let's zoom all the way in on just one man, Winston Smith. His story is more than just a plot. It's a chillingly practical guide to how the party finds, traps, and completely crushes anyone who dares to step out of line.
You can see Winston's rebellion happening in 3 acts. It starts small, with a private thought crime, writing in a diary. Then it becomes physical, an affair with Julia, and it ends in total annihilation. But the really horrifying twist? The whole thing was a setup from the start. His entire path to rebellion was a trap, carefully laid out for him by the very party he was trying to defy.
And his rebellion is so different from his lover Julia's. See, Winston is all about the big ideas. He's fighting for truth, for history, for the future. He needs to understand why things are the way they are. Julia, she just wants to have fun. She wants to break the rules to carve out a little space for personal pleasure. And that difference between them? That's the crack the party uses to break them apart.
It all ends here, in the Ministry of Love's most dreaded place, Room 101. The party knows that to truly break someone, you have to find the one thing they cannot bear. And for Winston, that's rats. They use his deepest, most primal fear to make him betray the very last thing he holds dear, his love for Julia.
So we've seen what they did to Winston, but how? How did they get inside someone's head so completely? Well, if we zoom back out from his story, we can see the main weapons in the party's psychological arsenal.
First on the list, language. They call it newspeak. And the real goal here isn't to create new words, it's to systematically destroy them. The idea is simple and it's absolutely terrifying. If you don't have a word for a concept, like freedom, how can you even form the thought?
Next up, you've got doublethink. This is some serious mental gymnastics. It's the ability to hold 2 completely contradictory thoughts in your mind at the same time and believe both of them. It's how you can watch the party rewrite history right in front of your eyes and then accept the new version as the one that was always true. This is the logic that makes a slogan like "War is Peace" actually work.
And when you put it all together, the shrinking language, the twisted logic, it leads to this, the ultimate weapon, thought crime. In Oceania, the most serious crime you can commit isn't an action. It's not even a word. It's the simple, silent flicker of a rebellious thought inside your own head.
So, the big question. This is a 75-year-old novel. Why does this chilling blueprint still feel so incredibly relevant? Well, its real power isn't that it was some kind of prophecy, it's that it's a timeless manual for how to diagnose and understand the way power can operate.
You see it all the time. The book's relevance just seems to spike whenever the real world starts to echo its warnings. A perfect example was back in 2017. An official used the phrase alternative facts, and almost overnight, sales of 1984 went through the roof. People were reaching for it not just for a story, but for a framework to make sense of what they were hearing.
And maybe that's its greatest legacy of all. It gave us a whole new vocabulary. Think about it. Words like Orwellian, Big Brother, thought crime, newspeak, doublethink. These aren't just literary terms anymore. They are part of our everyday language. Powerful tools that help us name, identify, and push back against manipulation when we see it.
And this brings us back to Winston. His entire rebellion, his entire fight for sanity, really boiled down to clinging to that one simple equation. Because what Orwell warns us, what he screams at us from across the decades, is that the fight for freedom begins with the fight for reality itself. It's the fight for the freedom to say that 2 + 2 makes 4, no matter how much pressure there is to believe otherwise.